This guy, who I've been watching a couple of videos of once or twice or three, four times or maybe more. I don't watch any channel absolutely religiously because I don't always necessarily think every channel does interesting things all the time. I just see what looks interesting subject wise. So this guy, right? I actually did a video like a joke of one of the Extinction Rebellion protests, and mix it with the Blues Brothers when they've got those kids dancing on the top of the police cars, because of the fact that those Section 42 orders that the police can put to disperse an area. They can't arrest children, although they can take children to safety. But they're not. If you're using the right to petition under the jurisdiction of Parliament with privilege, you're not going to be arrested anyway, which has been completely undermined and ignored. An actual protest really is a true protest is more like picketing, and it doesn't. It can't involve. If it involves government or parliament, you're going to be doing it under parliament jurisdiction, not the local police for crime. If you get thrown off a concert and you complain, if a lot of people get removed from a concert, right, and they want to watch Oasis or something, right, and then they all protest at the side and the police form a circle around it, you can protest at the edge and say, we want to get put back on and listen to the music, right? That is a protest under this human rights, freedom of expression, blah, 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 right? You got your Public Meeting Act. You can protest against that, but you're not, you don't have a cause to a higher authority or jurisdiction or to Parliament or any cause at all. You're just going about civil life, and the police have said, "Oh, we're putting an order down and clearing the area," right? But when you are pursuing a cause to Parliament, you are putting a right. You can't be arrested or put in prison. Put it that way, right? You can't not criminally liable to prosecution, right? This is the whole argument now over these. The whole argument, like with Tommy Robinson, like actually Lennon. What I was thinking. This injunction, civil injunction, he's in prison apparently because of it. They're calling it civil. You can't be arrested for civil matters. Citizens arrest. You could citizens arrest someone for a civil claim, and they get out on bail and so forth. And also bailiffs come and take your things, not you. They used to come and get you, not you. So we've all got the privilege of not being arrestable for civil matters. Now with this injunction, it's actually civil action. But if you break it, is that criminal? This is the thing. Well, what is the injunction for? If the injunction is for a political matter, you can't be criminally liable anyway. And the civil injunction is not from Parliament. If it was from Parliament, right, but it's not, why should you be imprisoned? It's contempt, but you're not in contempt, though. Contempt of what? What court? Are you in contempt of Parliament? Well, not if it's another citizen who brought the cause. It's a bit tricky because when you write out a complaint or a grievance to address to the Parliament or intended for Parliament or meant for Parliament, not in any criminal court or civil court, you get to write a complaint. You get to draft a complaint, and to draft a complaint, you need facts and evidence. Now, if Tommy Robinson's facts and evidence are in his documentary video, and if he needs 100,000 signatures, right, they're not signing blind. If Parliament asks for 100,000 people to support something with their oath, unless Parliament are going to act on it, right, they need to read it. And what they're reading, right, well, they're reading information, they're looking at information. That's a representation. In the Control of Advertisements Act, you can put a representation in public under Class E or F or whatever with the Bill of Rights, right to petition, which protects you. it can be, if they need to know what they're signing and what it's about, that's part of the complaint, isn't it? It's the petition is the complaint that people sign. So you've got to hear what the complaint is, and if you haven't got anything to hear, what can it be? That's the issue with Tommy Robinson. Is it under the jurisdiction of either of Houses of Parliament or not? He's got his manifesto thing, he's got his whole cause. That's the issue. The person who claims they're injured by it or whatever, or defamed or even copyright, there are exemptions from them sort of things, and you don't necessarily, for copyright, it doesn't have to be lodged with Parliament. It only has to be political nature, which is meant to be the same as the Extradition Act, only has to be political nature. It doesn't actually have to be a petition. For the Parliamentary Papers Act, when you get a certificate from the Speaker, just to prove, it's almost like a warrant, really, or to prove that you got a case with Parliament. But the thing is, your petition is proof that you've got a case with Parliament, right? Your complaint, your grievance, even if they don't issue a warrant, the law warrants you to do it, right? Why am I going into all that? Well, women have always had the right to petition every subject, whether you're man or woman, right? And this is what it comes down to. Man or woman can petition. Man or woman didn't be able to vote, and man or woman didn't be able to serve on juries, and man or woman didn't be able to be judges and so forth, or barristers even. Now they can, right? Now this, I've kind of gone a long way around, but this performance, this guy with this channel, this performance aircraft channel, right? He's asking about, is it ethical or is it acceptable for a child to be holding a political banner that is may even be questionably illegal anyway? Well, the thing is, if you're using the right to petition, any statement you could possibly come out with is legal. You can't be arrested or prosecuted, right? Now, when it comes to children, it's interesting because that's Section 42 for dispersal order. Children can't be arrested or imprisoned, right? Now, you might question, well, what are they doing in the area? Should they be in the area anyway? Is it dangerous for them to be in the area? Well, the police can move them or remove them, but not arrest or prosecute them criminally. So they're not regarded as criminals, right? But then anyone with a political statement really shouldn't be prosecuted or arrested, right? What do I think about the child having it? Well, this is the thing. Women, right? Should children be able to vote? Women fought ages for the right to vote, although it was always tradition that stopped. There was never a law really stopping women from vote. Landowners voted, people who had lands, knights and so forth, and they're usually people who went to Parliament. There wasn't actually anything in law stopping women from voting. They just didn't do it because of custom or tradition, almost like women didn't. I think under the Celts, women were warriors, right? But definitely later on, women don't play football. Why didn't women really play football at school, right? You might as well say, this is the argument, right? This is what we've got to get his head around, right? Some people did play, hockey at school, but most people didn't, right? Girls played hockey, guys played football or rugby, right? Women usually did sewing. Some men, like, shoemaker or whatever, right? But there were certain things, men went hunting. Do we need a law for that? Was there a law for that? Right? Not really. You can guarantee in the 1920s, if you count people, right, most women who didn't work were housewives, and most men went to work. There wasn't a law that a woman had to be a housewife or a man had to go to work, but they just did it because, it's almost like, why do otters swim? Why do birds fly? They've got wings, Men have got testosterone, women have got less testosterone. That might be why men hunt. So you could say it's God's nature, law's nature, you don't have to get the Bible out or whatever, or Magna Carta. But why? What is the reason? Well, the reason is generally, we're not going to get into transgender or anything stupid, on all this stupid Olympics and, Prince Harry stuff. But generally, most men are men because they're men, and they do that thing because they're naturally inclined to, hunt, fish, spearfish, whatever. Women are more inclined to hug, cuddle with children, and so forth. Breastfeed. If you're more inclined to breastfeed because you have breasts, you're less inclined to go out, shooting arrows at pigeons, right? It's just the nature of the beast, right? Now, with voting in elections, right, there wasn't actually a law for women not voting until the Representation of the People Act. Then they only said that, they couldn't actually vote. It was more like they just didn't vote because it wasn't like the done thing. So there's not really anything to complain about. There wasn't a law. It's almost like until they make a law to say you can't do it, they weren't that bothered about it, right? Or if they were, men weren't. You might as well say, why is a man complaining that men don't complain that they can't breastfeed a child, do they? Because they ain't got fucking breasts, right? Now, there's no argument about that, right? You can moan and complain about it all you want, but you can't fucking do it, right? Tough, right? But, they're still human, it could be some hidden part of the brain. I don't know what it is, we're not talking about circumcisions and altering the physique here or putting weird rings through your lip, like big weird rings, or expanding your, earrings to massive sizes or whatever, right? But generally, right, once they stopped women from voting, then they kicked off about it and they protested for their vote, right? Okay? So, but you might as well say, well, why don't children vote? I mean, they're too young. Well, you can say, well, that's nature, isn't it? That's, women don't have high testosterone, they don't hunt, but, now women can, and women can vote. So you say, well, kids are kind of young, maybe they don't know as much about life, but so what? Women don't have as much testosterone as men, but we're not going to have an argument about it. But generally, why not? If you're going to let women vote and do things, then why not let children vote? Because really, they're citizens, and if they're going to be banned from doing certain things, or if kids are going to be not allowed to watch certain movies, or if kids are going to be subject to certain laws, why don't they have a vote for them, right? Because at the end of the day, right, okay, children can't be prosecuted, or they can be imprisoned until a certain age, but there are other laws like that affect them, like age to drive, or who's their official parent or guardian, or what else, if they're even allowed to have sweets or not. But if you're saying, does that mean that then you should make them arrestable if they know sense to vote? But to be honest, right, I think the thing with voting versus criminal liability versus responsibility for voting, right? This is the thing, you think about it, right? If children aren't criminally liable, for knowing right from wrong, but not everything in life is based on, whether it's legal or not legal or right or wrong. Kids can't be prosecuted for crimes, but they're allowed to eat sweets, right? Kids, people couldn't smoke, right? You can't smoke, right, if you're under 16 or 17, right? For example. So you ain't going to smoke, right, because you're not allowed. The law doesn't permit you to smoke, right? But you can eat sweets, right? So you're lawfully allowed to eat sweets. You can buy them. Someone gives you money, right? They give you money. You go to a shop, like you're 8-year-old, you walk in, you buy like a Beano magazine. I can do that, right? And then buy some sweets, right? So if you you're not responsible enough to know, you might steal a Beano magazine. You might not even fucking pay for it, right? You might go in there and nick a Beano magazine, right? You steal it, like 25p, whatever. Right? I'll have that in my back pocket. I'll steal it. You don't know the right from wrong. But if you had, the thing is, you can go. Kids are going into there, and they're buying sweets. And some of them are paying for Beano. Doesn't matter whether they know right from wrong or not, but they're doing it. They might not know right for wrong in voting, but they can't do it. So even it doesn't matter whether they know right for wrong in voting, they can't actually vote, can they? Because we're not going to let you vote. You don't know right from wrong. Like you say, we're not going to let you smoke because, well, you don't say we're not going to let you smoke because it's bad for you, but we're letting everyone else smoke. It's bad for them, but we're still letting them do it. That would be, are adults responsible for even letting other adults smoke? That's the thing. But let's go within the context, right? You could say, well, anyone can go into a shop and steal a Beano magazine, even if they're 50-year-old. That doesn't mean just because now they're a responsible age, they're not going to break the law, They still got the option, they can still buy Beano or not buy Beano. They can still steal it or not, right? Kids, right? Kids go to school. It's lawful for them to go to school. They're learning at school. They're teaching them things, right? There's lots of things kids do or else they won't be able to do anything. So in the sphere of what kids can do and are doing, like going into shops and buying sweets, they can engage in that and participate in it, and also school, and even, you can run on the beach, right? So why don't they vote on the things that they are allowed to legally do? Like, so our kids, if kids can go into a shop and buy sweets, then surely a kid can vote on what sweets him and his other kids should or should not be fucking buying. Surely, right? You got 80 kids going on a school trip into a fucking sweet shop in Skegness, right? 80 kids, right? They're all buying sweets. They can lawfully do it competently. So you're telling me that they can't vote on what sweets they should or shouldn't be eating between them? Surely, regardless of whether they nick half of them and don't pay for them or not and aren't criminally liable, that's different, because they can do that whether they're fucking 50-year-old, a lot of 50-year-old old pensioners can go in a shop and nick a load of sweets and not pay for them. We could have a lot of politicians or judges give people plea deals when it's illegal in court, which they are doing now. They're still doing it. And, are they responsible enough to even be in court and hear cases when they're doing it illegally? This is the thing. Maybe there are certain. Maybe we should have a kids' government. Now, this is a great idea. Why don't we, right, have a kindergarten government, right, that is laws for children, made by children, right? So, under 12-year-olds can run for election, and they're like little lords with little baron, little baron capes on. They've got immunities, right? They can't be prosecuted, but they make their own laws up for themselves, right? What is legal or not legal, right? But it doesn't mean they have to abide by those laws or do those laws. It's just, maybe it's like advice, kind of like parental guidance, PG. They could say, well, we're going to vote that, these sweets are, not too good for us. We shouldn't be having these sweets, right? Now, they could follow that law, or they could choose not to. And even if you don't arrest them for it, right, even if they can't be prosecutable or arrestable, at least the law's there, and they could choose to follow it, choose to abide by it if they want to, because, this is what the kids' government recommend or say, right? Or actually, maybe the adults have to abide by it. Maybe if the kids' government, the kindergarten government, make it illegal, for midget gems, right, to be sold, then if the parents buy midget gems, then they should be arrested or something, right? Or whatever. You can take it any way you want. But this is the thing. At the end of the day, women couldn't vote. Should have they been able to vote? Were they competent to vote? The question is, you might as well say the exact same argument for kids. Why should we let women vote? Well, why should we let kids vote? Why can't they vote? This is the thing. When it comes to these signs and banners, though, political notices, right? Firstly, kids can't be arrested or imprisoned, right? So tough, so they can carry around what signs they want without being arrested or imprisoned. Doesn't mean to say whether it's legal or not, but that's what the law is. That's what I think. Whether you agree with it or not, I'm not really bothered. The fact is, they can do it at the moment. And that's what this is the thing with this guy in this aeroplane channel. He's like, well, that's what the law is. If someone got convicted, then that's it. Tough. If they can't be arrested, then they can't be arrested. That's what I think about it. What I think about it is, as a kid with a sign, right, can't be arrested. The thing with those signs, though, is that You're not meant to be arrested or put in prison, even if you're an adult, if it's political matters to Parliament. So it doesn't matter if you're a kid or not. This is the thing. So the fact that it's political and a kid, now, should they be leading... I think what the guy's getting at is it responsible for a parent to encourage or allow a kid to have a, firstly, view that is usually reserved for a political arena and kids can't vote, and secondly, the kid has got the sign and can't be arrested or prosecuted anyway for holding it. So why does it matter? But then again, why not make use out of the opportunity and availability to do it while you can? Do they want the kid to grow up with, particular views or not? Well, this is the thing. They don't know any better. So if they don't know any better, according to the government's opinion is that the kid doesn't really understand the sign. So it doesn't matter what the sign says, because legally, according to the government, in the government's judgment, the kid doesn't know what the sign means, or is not responsible enough to know whether the statement is good or bad. So you aren't really misleading the kid, because they've got exclusive cognizance. That's a good new word that I just pulled out of my back pocket then. The kids have got exclusive cognizance. They don't know that the sign is bad. Now, the fact that you know the sign's bad, or you think the sign's bad, or your political opinion is opposed to that of the mother, your political opinion of what the mother is doing to her in her political freedom of right on her kid who is under a certain age, and other people might have an opposed opinion to that woman, and therefore they are in opposition to her politically, but they're also in opposition by telling her what a kid should or shouldn't be doing. And even if that kid's sign wasn't a political sign, he could just tell, the next door neighbour to go fuck themselves, right, or whatever, but they can't be arrested or prosecuted. So, this is the thing. Let's say that the sign says, go fuck yourself, right, to the neighbour, or whatever, right? And the kid can't be arrested or prosecuted, right? And they wrote it, and their parents are not bothered about it and encouraging it. It's better if we remove the political aspect for it, so it's not a matter to Parliament of church, state, or law, right? Let's say, kids there, writes a sign telling the neighbours to go fuck themselves, right? And they're dancing around the garden with it, right? And the parents there and they don't stop them. The kid wrote it, and the kid is displaying the sign, but they can't be arrested or prosecuted, right? Should the parent be encouraging that, or should they stop them from doing it, right? Is the parent prosecutable? Well, the thing is that it's actually, if it wasn't the parent's opinion, right, it's the opinion of the child, and the child doesn't actually know right from wrong. So actually, it's called, the child's got exclusive cognizance, because until they're 16, as far as the government are concerned, they don't actually know that that is a bad or good thing to do. Now, whether you should be teaching children to behave a certain way or not, the problem is it's almost like the not Heisenberg uncertainty principle. It's like the, what do you call it? Ryman's. It's like Ryman's. Like the Ryman's problem in maths is that he's trying to find this point, and it's like you can't. It's like a three-dimensional problem, because you're trying to calculate a point that doesn't exist, right? Because it's almost like it's something out of nothing, right? So if you've got something there, you can't have nothing there, and it's like with nothing, you haven't got anything until you introduce something, and then you've got something, right? Now the thing is, without an observer, without any other citizens, without another person, the child is by themselves. They are alone, right? There is just a child, right? So you've got a child, right? And he's drawing, he's writing, he's doing things. What is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, right? Without any peers, you can't have peer judgment. Without an observer, you can't have a subject. Without any person, right, there is no opinion. So if you are, like, out in the middle of the Australian outback by yourself, like fucking Mowgli, right, from Jungle Book, right, you don't have any peers, right? If you're just a lone child, right, okay, we're not arguing how you got there, right? You could have fucking jumped out of an airplane with a parachute, or you could have just, like, spontaneously appeared for the power of God. I don't know, but if you've got a singular person, a human, right, who just appears in the desert like Jesus, right, is walking around. He doesn't have any peers to judge him, only God, right? So you're walking around the desert, there's no one there, you're by yourself, right? You're not in England, which has the laws of the King of England. You're not in America, you don't have the president. You have sweet F.A. Fuck all, nothing, no one. There is no peers to judge you, nothing. No one judges what you do is right or wrong, right? Only God, right? So it's God's law, right? If a tree falls on you, tough, right? If it starts thundering and raining, tough, right? There's no king to judge you. You kneel before no one. If a fucking lion jumps out of a fucking bush, right? You know, it's up to you to fucking spear it, nut it, fucking whatever, rip its fucking paws in half, fuck knows, whatever, right? That's up to you to survive. It's like Lex Talionis, tooth and claw, right? Equal force for an equal measure. There is no right or wrong. There is no opinion. Now, you do not have to be 6-year-old to know that, right? You can fucking magnifying glass fucking insects all night and all day. You can fucking squish snails. You can pull the fucking legs off insects. You can do what the fuck you want, right? As soon as you walk into babble, bobble, goggle, right? Whatever you want to call it, you know, Petra. As soon as you walk into Rome, right, you've got citizens, you've got people, you've got an opinion, right? They decide what you do is good or bad. They don't like it, right? Or whatever. You then learn, right? Learn their laws. So you're gradually learning and being taught because you don't know them, right? This is like Mowgli, right? So that kid, right, with that sign, in law of England, right? In law of England, we've got schools, we've got education. He's being taught, right? So he's walked into Rome. He's like Mowgli, right? Until he comes of age, right? He has not completed the training, you know, like fucking a Jedi or whatever. So he's got exclusive cognizance, right? He's got the legal right to, you know, he's learning from his mistakes or errors, right? And seeing what other peers react to it. Some peers might not like what he does. Other peers might like what he does, right? And whether he's guided one way or the other is, you know, he's given exclusive cognizance to trial and error through his learning process, right? That is the deal. And, you know, this is the thing with Parliament and the House of Lords and Parliament. They've got exclusive cognizance because they're making and changing the laws. But we invested power in them so they could do that job. So we reserved, you know, judgment, really. Although they are liable between sessions, but we've invested power in them and they've been elected for a certain period of time. So they've got... You know, they've got, you know, they've got a get out of jail free card. And as for the peers, well, that's all, you know. Should the barons and lords in Magna Carta have been given, you know, the privilege to be only judged by their equals because loads of poor people were being hard on them in court, you know? Charter of Liberty says that everyone should stand for their crimes, but if you know, they don't really want to be stand for their crimes like they don't want the baron and lord in front of a jury who's stripping all their wealth away. They might not treat them fairly due to class variations, but that's what happened with the lords and barons in Magna Carta. And Elizabeth II is meant to be repealed that in 1967, which you can't do apparently because the Parliament are still opening Parliament with all the ancient rights and privileges, which either is a lie or Elizabeth didn't even really fucking repeal it in 1967 in the Criminal Law Act. The thing is, right, that I've lost my thread now. What I'm going to say? Really, you know the Magna Carta. You know, like all lords and barons should stand for the crimes in the Charter of Liberties until Magna Carta. Then the barons said, whoa, we don't want to be judged by poor people. Well, this is actually just clicked now as I'm speaking. I've just had a major revelation, and it's actually relevant to this in front of me, which is what this conversation actually wanted to be about, but it all kind of fits together now. So, really, in the 1800s, after the Luddites fits into this, right? And I'm going off subject from kids now, right? But remember, they used to have kids working in factories, remember? They used to have kids working, didn't they, when they were right little? They used to have little kids working. They didn't go to school, did they? They didn't all actually have an education, remember? They had them working in factories and mills, little kids, remember? Let's not forget that part, Not old enough to vote, but old enough to work in a sweatshop, right? Listen to this, right? The Luddites kicked off because government wouldn't lift the minimum wage up, right? So they kicked off and smashed all the machines up, right? And they hung a load of them. But I think the last one was a bit later on, but not long after that. And then they built the police force to manage all the crime that had gone through the roof. Not surprisingly, if they wouldn't lower up the minimum wage, right? And then Parliament mysteriously burns down, along with supposedly with all of the petition evidence for our a lot of evidence of casework, or the ones that didn't get read out. And then you've got Denham as well, and Peel was, and then they've got the police force drop on everyone, right? Because we do the fucking arresting, remember, or most of it, or a lot of it. You have to, officially submit it, but then you can go and get them or whatever, get your warrant or whatever. But so that's important, because what happened then, from then until 1900, when the women are kicking off about their vote, right? They took the juries out of that entry-level court, right? The magistrates, and that was our right at a fundamental, basic level of any normal crime, common crime, to have judged from your own peers, right? Not, it's serious, like what they call Crown Court now, but, it was serious if you're in front of Parliament or whatever, or in London at the High Court, but, like, normal crimes, it's almost like Oliver Twist in a way, Fagin, he judged by your peers for all crimes. Now, they stripped that out and had the magistrates battering us then with the hammer, right, without your own peer judgment, unless you want to hear it in the Crown Court, but it can be more serious. But this is the thing. They took the civil juries out. Now, why? This is the key point to a lot of things that what we see now in England. This is the reason why Scotland's different to England, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of other politics going on. There's a lot of other things going on, but we're talking about the island. The land, the landscape, the domain when you walk around. Scotland is not very populated compared to England. Scotland isn't bomb-blitzed with highways and motorways and towns and cities absolutely fucking everywhere without restraint, right? It's not shrapnel to fucking Kingdom Come, right? In fact, they say that it's backward, but I don't think it is. It's... That's the reason, is that in England, they stripped all of the juries out of the civil courts because they were the ones really, and from local council, civil requests for building permissions. Now, are your workers who are smashing up the factory as Luddites, are they going to allow you to build more factories if you're not going to lift the minimum wage up? No. And are they going to treat... the peers, the peers said they can't be judged unless by their equals anyway. That's in civil and criminal, right? That's in civil and criminal. Because you got a lot of those petitions when, there was a lot of argument over lands and land ownership and usage, right? Between servants and masters and public and so forth, right? But they wanted a fair trial. The peers wanted a fair trial with their own peers, right? Well, I'm not too sure whether it is going to be fair or not, but they thought it was. What's actually happening now is the people aren't getting a jury trial for themselves, for their own peers, right? Now you might think, well, what about the councillors? You know, if the councillors are in the council and we elect them, aren't really they like our peers deciding on what should be built or not? Well, not really, because they're all sold out to political parties and the council's taken over. It's not a jury, and in fact, if in criminal they've said, well, at the lowest level, you don't want your peers judging you unless it's more serious. Well, that means that you get a random jury for a more serious matter. Well, why is it that then, at the lowest level, with the councillors, we've still got the councillors, you know, the Jurats, the aldermen, right, at the council, where's the higher, more serious level? Interesting. For the most lowest level, we get these permanent peers who are also known as councillors, but they're all dedicated to political parties. So many be our peers, but the places, they're just letting everyone build everywhere. But in crime, we don't. They've done the opposite. You don't get your own peers judging you. Instead, you can have a random jury, but only if it's deadly serious. So, you know, isn't every single development deadly serious? Isn't like someone building, you know, 100 fucking house building development next to your house? It's quite serious, you know, to justify having a random jury then. You know, if serious crime needs a random jury, why have we got, you know, Rumpole of the Bailey? Why have we got, you know, Bill Armour, Councillor Armour come knocking on the door. You know, oh, hey up, Bill, local peer, hey up, you know, from estate. Oh, these councillors, Jack, Sam, Tom, Dodd, Bill, Geff. Hey up, local councillors, here's me peers, very educated gentlemen from local area. Well, that went down pit and took local club, and here's a bowling green and a snooker table. Yes, but now we're all, it's Councillor King from Colchester Council. Oh, Councillor King's not one of my peers. Councillor King's not just Jack the lad from the village who's on council, no. Councillor King, he's a king. You know, it's like being in front of the Majesty himself, you know, Lord Earl Pumpernickel, Councillor King from Colchester Council, a very knowledgeable and extensively educated gentleman who's thoroughly versed in the procedures and executions of the motions of the local council chamber. Rights, privileges, laws, procedures, you know, he's the peer for you, you know, especially fitting 5G towers everywhere. You know, this is the thing. That's actually meant to be common folk in common council. But if that's done out wrong, unless it's serious, they can't have a jury in the Crown Court. A very serious naughty boy court. You can have a random jury of people. Where's my random jury of people in the extremely serious matter of redeveloping the entire town centre, which has cost trillions, millions, billions, you know? Oh no, don't worry, Jack will sort that out. Jack and Jill and Sam and John and, you know, and Jenny and Johnny, you know, Councillor Coalpit, you know, he'll sort it out, Councillor Coalpit. Have you been selected randomly? So, it's a little bit like Magna Carta said the peers can only be judged by their equals. Now, this is the thing. If the developers, all your McDonald's, corporate entities, architects, build us a new university, build us a new sports centre, build us a new football stadium, boom, 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 suitcases of fucking money exploding everywhere, changing the face of the town centre, changing the landscape of the entire area. But it's, it's Postman Pat, Jack and Jill, you know, it's Jane and John. It's local peers, local council, but you know, where's the majesty of the jury? It's gone. So we don't actually. They're actually forcing us to. With the council, we're forced to have our peers, but they're definitely not random. And in a civil case, you don't get them. And I think that's because if McVitie's comes in from a biscuit factory that's worth, you know, £20 million, right? He's not going to be judged by a jury of local folk, even if random, because he's too good for that. He's worth too much money, right? And that's what the barons did in Magna Carta. They said, we're not going to be judged by common folk. We're going to be judged by other lords and barons. And what happened in the 1800s after Luddites is that, in civil court, they said, oh, we can't have McVitie's £20 million biscuit factory extension or redevelopment or whatever, or even a lawsuit with his wife, when they split up. Can't have that judged by Jack and Jill, John and Jenny, in a jury. No, they're common folk. It has to be Justice Johnson or whatever, someone more respectable, So we've actually been stolen of kind of like peer judgment in civil matters in a way, because the jury's been taken away from us, and the council are sold out to political parties, right? And like an agenda, not actually what the people want, and all these big corporate entities who have got the money because they didn't raise the minimum wage. You see, if they'd raised the minimum wage and the Luddites hadn't smashed the machines up, then we'd have had loads of money, and the companies wouldn't have had loads of money to be the only ones who were putting down the development plans and the table in the council, right? What has that got to do with all this? Well, it's to do with like judgment of peers. Now, I've just checked. I've eventually got to this part, which has got this bit in the screen up that I've got in front of me. This is the first time I've mentioned this part. Now, I've just looked, right, for the juries. This is important. Why have I just been talking bollocks for the last half an hour or hour, which doesn't tie anything into this? Well, we're talking about kids. Should they be able to vote, or are they responsible for their actions? Women. Should women be able to vote? Are they responsible for their actions? Should all men and women be equal and we not have peer separation, lords and barons? Although they claim to repeal that, but there's still parliamentary privilege, so it's a similar thing, right? Well, according to this, this is what I've found from America, right? From America, it says in 1879, they first allowed women in juries in America. And then it started to spread to New York. And then they said that they could sit in broader panels. And then it said they could sit on federal juries. So we're going through the 1920s. But remember, we're gradually getting women put into juries through this period. So they're letting women be on juries. So that means that women weren't on juries before 1879. But they've actually stripped they've let them be on juries, but they only have I think they've got more juries in America. I think America have got more juries, but in England, remember, they're taking the juries out as much as they can in the matters that they don't really want common folk like us to decide on. And that's mainly because they've secured political party control of the lower jury, the councillors. So councillors who are, hey up Jack, you and me, Bill and Ben, normal people walking around, they're like Labour, or Tories, right? And remember, Labour Party started in 1900, just before the women complained about their vote, and Labour Party put a stop to all this, smashing the factories up and demanding the minimum wage. It pretended that it was going to be a champion for the minimum wage, but it championed sweet FA. It didn't champion anything. Did it actually equalise society? No, it didn't. It basically said, stop smashing machines up, get to work. We'll have a try to save for you, and we'll build you some bowling greens, and we'll make it like Australia when there's bungalows everywhere. And then in another 30, 40, 50 years, you'll say, this is shit, we don't want it, it's no good, it's crap, you've never done naught for us, even though we've got football stadiums everywhere, cinemas everywhere, sports clubs everywhere, drive-thrus everywhere, supermarkets everywhere, computers everywhere, Bill Gates everywhere, smartphones everywhere, mobiles everywhere. We've got naught, we've got nothing. Sweet F.A. Jack, shit, it's crap, it's shit, we don't want it, demolish it, because actually Labour did nothing Nothing for us. Nothing. It did sweet F.A. Did it give us a 50-50 deal with David Cameron, with Rishi Sunak? No, it didn't. Because most people probably then wouldn't be bothered going into work as much, or they might only have to work 3 or 4 days a week, which is, crime went up because, they got all machines in the factories, they didn't lift their wages up, there were less jobs available, loads of people out of work, crime through the roof, let's invent a police force, and we can arrest them all, and they don't even have the privilege of a jury trial. And even if McVitie's did have a civil jury out of his working class workers, he'd have just appealed it anyway up to the High Court. So, because he's got loads of money. So it would have ended up there anyway, unless he was on the same money as his workers, and then he might not have been able to afford to. But that means that he wasn't the boss. He was just some kind of steward or administrator, which he don't want to be a steward or administrator, does he? So, women in juries, yeah, they slowly let them in and snuck them in after they're actually taking the juries themselves out, or less, particularly in England. So I just need to check now what date they let the women on the juries in England. So I think my question has been answered, at least in America. No, they didn't have women on juries. But women have always had the right to petition the government and bring a case. So you can bring a case, which is a right to actually complain. And you don't need an MP to serve you, really. It's a miracle that women actually could even, claim that someone had committed a crime against them. So, unless they're a little kid,